Dogs and cats cannot pass coronavirus to humans.
Here's a summary of the article.
Hong Kong, pet cats and dogs cannot pass the new on to humans, but they can test positive for low levels of the pathogen if they catch it from their owners. That's the conclusion of Hong Kong's Agriculture, Fisheries and Conservation Department after a dog in quarantine tested weekly positive for the virus February 27, February 28 and March 2, using the canine's nasal and oral cavity samples. There is currently no evidence that pet animals can be a source of infection of COVID-19 or that they become sick. The department suggested any pets, including dogs and cats, from households where someone has tested positive for the virus should be put into quarantine. In general, pet owners should maintain good hygiene, including washing hands before and after handling animals, their food and supplies, and no kissing them. People who are sick should avoid contact with pets, and a veterinarian's advice should be sought if changes in a pet's health conditions are detected. Apart from maintaining good hygiene practices, pet owners need not be overly concerned, and under no circumstances should they abandon their pets, the spokesman said.
This post received a score of 8,060, with an upvote ratio of 97%. Here are the top comments in response to this article.
So it can be passed from human to dogs but not the other way around? Thinking face.
It can be passed into a low-level infection. So basically, yeah, the virus is multiplying inside the dog tested, but at a very low rate, i.e. the virus is actually doing very poorly in the canine host. Since the actual amount of the virus in the dog is so low, it's very unlikely for the dog to be able to transmit it to anyone else, unless you eat the dog. Dogs have pretty different immune systems, run at a much higher temperature, and have significantly different GI tracts, so the number of diseases we share is actually pretty small. That's why diseases that can be transmitted from other animals to humans or vice versa are so significant, they're rare.
Bats. It's always freaking bats. Since we share some of the same cellular markers, of course.
It's possibly bats. In reality, we cannot pinpoint it to any particular species, and we may never be able to. We don't know all of the species in that market, we don't know who the first person to contract the virus was, and we don't know how they got the virus. So it's maybe bats. For all we know, it could have been a bunny or a toad or a centipede. We have barely studied a handful of the hundreds to thousands of different forms of coronavirus. We just happen to know that bats have a similar one to COVID-19. Nothing more, nothing less.
Oh man, you're gonna force me to dig up my old classwork. Could have sworn we've used sequencing to analyze the previous big coronavirus scares SARS and MERS and linked it to bats. And no, there's many species it can't not possibly be from, due to a lack of similar cellular receptors. Doesn't mean the pool of possibilities is small, however.
Cats can have a little coronavirus.
As a treat. Looks like dogs and cats are back on the menu, boys.
Can dogs pass it on to other dogs?
It's a dog-infect-dog world.
While technically correct, I think this is spreading a dangerous omission of a threat. A potential vector of infection is being ignored with this message. If you can catch it from a fomite, then I do not see why a cat-dog cannot act as such a fomite. When in fact they can, in the sense that the pet would be the fomite that passes on the infection, as a doorknob would.
When I see my dogs licking pretty much anything outside in the streets. Yeah, I would be pretty sure that they can act as fomite. I would be surprised the other way.
And they laughed at me for hanging out with the owner's dog over people at that house party.
This video was automatically created by Reddit to speech. The article and comments in this video were selected from Reddit according to their upvotes, and any paraphrasing was performed by smmry.com, without any human intervention.